of today's demo is not to be a sales demo or something lofty and inspirational. We're aiming to hit kind of somewhere in between to educate our nonprofit community to use technology to make smarter fundraising decisions. And to that end, we've assembled a group of some of Idealist Consulting's most trusted solution partners for that. And today's webinar will cover mass email with Soapbox Mailer, given by Tim Forbes, VP of Products and Marketing at PicNet, one of our premier partners. So before we get into that, let me go over a couple of housekeeping issues. We're going to be using the questions feature there in the sidebar of GoToWebinar. So if anyone has questions throughout the webinar, you will be muted. So please do enter your questions there. We'll answer them as we go, and also save the sort of most impactful questions to discuss out loud over at the end of the webinar. So we'll go over those then. In the meantime, everyone will stay muted. So again, please do enter those there. If anyone does have audio issues, please try to kind of manage those on your side. But if there's a problem you can't solve, let us know in the questions, and we'll see what we can do about that. Again, no worries about phones or mics because everyone will be muted for today. So we'll just address those questions that you guys enter in there. We will, by the way, be recording today's webinar, and we'll be sending that recording to all registrants, as well as the slide deck that Tim is going to go through today after the webinar. So that'll be available to everyone also. Cool. Okay. So Tim, if you want to move, perfect. So a couple of words about Idealist Consulting. So we are a consulting firm based in Portland, Oregon, dedicated to providing nonprofits, private sector, and government organizations with advanced technical solutions that help them run more effectively. We're also a certified B Corporation, which we're pretty proud of, and one of the top-rated consulting firms on the Salesforce App Exchange, which we are very proud of. Our kind of general organizational focus is on Salesforce implementation for organizations who fundraise. So this webinar series has been long in the making. So with that, I'm going to hand things off to Tim to introduce us to PicNet and the suite of Soapbox products here. And great, so thanks so much, Tim. Take it away.
Well, thank you. It's great to be able to join everybody today. I was super excited when we got the invitation to come and share a bit of what we're doing here at PicNet to help the nonprofit community. Because here at PicNet, which is the company name that brings you Soapbox Engage and Soapbox Mailer, we have as our real exclusive mission to empower nonprofits to be more efficient and effective through technology. One of the main ways that we do that is through providing a platform called Soapbox Engage. Soapbox Engage is a suite of online engagement tools that integrate with Salesforce that allows for you to do things like process donations online and have those saved to Salesforce, manage events, build forms that push data to Salesforce, pull data from Salesforce and display it on your site, and then some more advanced stuff that allows for linking up web user accounts with Salesforce contacts that can bring a whole host of new options to you as an organization. What we're going to be talking about today, though, specifically, is our Soapbox Mailer for Salesforce app. This is an app that's available on the App Exchange, happens to be the only one, I think, right now in the mass email category with a pristine 5-star rating on the App Exchange. Just as with Idealist, we're also a B Corporation and a very proud partner of Idealist. It's a pleasure to work with them to facilitate making organizations more efficient and effective through the use of Salesforce and the Soapbox Engage suite. Just a word about myself as well. In addition to being currently the VP of Products and Marketing at PicNet and in charge of shepherding the development of our suite of services, I am a former nonprofit accidental techie. as well. So I worked for a few different nonprofits for about a decade before coming to PicNet and Soapbox. And that's very consistent with pretty much all of the staff here at PicNet, and really makes the focus that we have very much on folks at nonprofits that are looking to use our tools or our services to achieve their missions. So hopefully that will be evident as we walk through the presentation here, and for those of you who should choose to maybe take the next step with PicNet. So the real core of what we're going to be chatting about today, though, can be summed up, I think, in this question. How can you, as an organization, generate more revenue using mass email without paying an arm and a leg for it and without pulling out your hair in the process? Now, what I'm going to do is walk us through what we see as the problem, why it's not easy necessarily to make all of those things happen. I'm going to offer our humble answer to that problem in kind of highlighting some things about Soapbox Mailer. We're going to touch on one particular client success story, because it's always best to hear a real world example of how this stuff works. We're going to touch on a brief demo of some of the screenshots, some of the views within Mailer, before hitting some overarching 3 quick tips that I'd have to share, and then open it up for questions and answers. So what's the problem that we're looking at? First, a lot of times if you're looking for mass email, it can get quite expensive. Especially mass email that integrates with Salesforce. For some of those applications that are out there, they do integrate with Salesforce, but kind of clunkily, if I can invent a word here on our webinar, kind of like this phone iPod music player. And for those that do integrate with Salesforce more elegantly, a lot of times there's a lot of data bloats. What those tools are doing is pushing a lot of data into custom objects and causing a lot of data to be accumulated over time in those custom objects that can really weigh down the Salesforce instance and cause higher pricing further down the road because of it. So what's the answer to those questions? Well, what we've done is built Soapbox Mailer to really address what we saw as some of the gaps in the marketplace. It's an affordable mass email tool. Soapbox Mailer starts off at a $19 per month subscription fee, and then goes $39, $59, $79, $99, depending on your budget. The per email cost is just a dime for each 1,000 emails, so 10 cents per 1,000 emails. In addition to being affordable, really the key differentiator is the hand-in-glove integration with Salesforce. It is a Salesforce app. It's entirely native to Salesforce. So that's going to be significant as we walk through and show you both the demo and then the individual client success story to see how that plays out. It gives you world-class email deliverability. What Soapbox Mailer is doing is allows for it to communicate with Amazon simple email services so that Amazon is sending out that mass email and giving real-time statistics back to your Salesforce instance that allows for real-time performance metrics right there in Salesforce. You don't need to go to a different app. You don't need to download things into any sort of spreadsheet. It's just right there, and we'll see that more in a few moments. It also allows you to measure the social media ripple effect. So as you know, it's very common to have tools that allow you to share different content over social media channels, Facebook, Twitter. It's rarer to find ways that you can actually measure the impact of your recipients sharing that content. One thing that's unique about Soapbox Mailer is that it gives you the tools within those metrics to allow you to actually see what sort of ripple effect you're having. So if someone shares your particular email, the web version of that email, to Facebook, to Twitter, you can see if individuals are clicking on that link in Facebook, in Twitter, and then viewing your email. We'll touch more on that when we get into the actual views of the app here in a moment. Because Soapbox Mailer is entirely native to Salesforce, and because of our overall philosophical approach about how we're developing our tools, Soapbox Mailer is very true to the core. We're not including a lot of custom objects. We're keeping things very tight with the basic standard setup in Salesforce. And that's going to yield some pretty specific rewards and opportunities that we'll get into when we, again, look at the specific client success story. So with all of this, with Soapbox Mailer, with the world-class email deliverability, with the low price point, with that tight integration with Salesforce, so you can see all those metrics right within the app, it's really more than mass email. We're talking about a business intelligence tool that can inform action so that you can raise more money at a lower cost. Now, all that's great to hear in theory. What I want to do is dive down into a specific use case for one of our clients that's using Soapbox Mailer, and use that as a springboard to both look at the actual app, so you get a chance to see what the different component parts are, how it works, and then really tease out some of the unique aspects of Mailer that this organization, Blue Water Baltimore, is using to really get the most out of their experience with Salesforce, Soapbox Mailer for Salesforce, and that tight integration. So Blue Water Baltimore is just down the street from me here in DC, just up I-95 in Baltimore. Their mission is to restore the quality of Baltimore's rivers, streams, and harbor to foster a healthy environment, a strong economy, and thriving communities. Now, at Blue Water Baltimore is a great guy named Vince. We love Vince. He's a smart individual with a fantastic title. Vince is the nursery manager and communication manager for Blue Water Baltimore. For us, this kind of exemplifies the accidental techie or blended job title that a lot of nonprofit professionals have. So Vince needs to be out in the nursery, taking care of the plants that they're selling and the various other things that he's doing, and then duck back in to an office or hop on his laptop to send a mass email through Soapbox Mailer. And he needs to be able to do that as efficiently as possible and as effectively as possible so he can get back to selling plants and what have you. The background for Blue Water Baltimore is that they had started off on Common Ground. They moved from Common Ground to CauseView, and they had originally had MailChimp, but they opted to go to Soapbox Mailer because they wanted tighter integration between their mass email tool and Salesforce. So with that overall background on the organization, we're going to the Salesforce app. I'm going to show you around the tool itself, and then we'll jump back into the presentation here to get at some of those specifics of how Blue Water Baltimore is leveraging that true to the core approach that we've taken. So pardon me, I'll jump out here, and then we can hop to Mailer. So this is the first view of Mailer. I can tell you that Mailer is available on the App Exchange. There's a 30-day free trial that you can get if you just want to dip your toe in the water without committing. Once you install it and set it up, you'll have Soapbox Mailer as an app within your Salesforce instance. And there's a number of things that are key to Mailer itself. The first and foremost thing that you're going to be spending most of your time in with Mailer is the campaigns object. what Mailer does is use just the native standard Salesforce campaign object with a few additional custom fields and other elements to transform it from just a campaign record into a tool that allows you to send mass emails through Salesforce. So if we go to the campaign object here in the Salesforce app, we'll see a number of different email campaigns that have been sent recently or created recently. If we want to create a new email, we simply click New for New Campaign, select Soapbox Mailer, and continue. It allows us to fill in the basics of our email, so the campaign, the name that we want to use internally, some other fields here, email blast as the type of campaign, whether it's active, some descriptive information. Down here at the bottom under email details, we're able to define the email sender. That corresponds with the list of senders that have been pre-established and set up within Mailer and Amazon, so that you can have one or multiple senders that you use for your Soapbox Mailer app. If you've got different departments or different individuals that these emails need to come from, this allows you to select which one this particular correspondence should be sent from. Just like being able to set up specific senders, you can also have different email templates. Now, these are templates that are set at the beginning of the setup of Mailer. They are accessible to subsequent emails that you send out, and it's a matter of choosing from the list of templates that you've created to identify which template should be used by this particular email. Here we can choose or enter in a subject line, hit save, and off we go. Now, this email happens to be a sample one that had been sent previously. So here what we're seeing is the initial information that we had added based on that screen that we just came from. So the campaign name, email blast, other details. We're able to leverage the native parent-child campaign hierarchy within Salesforce itself, because this is entirely native to Salesforce. So if you want to bring some order, some hierarchy to the emails that you're sending for reporting purposes or what have you, that's available to you. Here we've got the sender that we've chosen, the subject line, the email template. And now, just a little bit lower, we're going to get into the specifics of this email campaign performance. So here we have an email that has been sent to a few individuals. This is a rather small email blast. But what you can see here is campaign metrics on the campaign object, where we're able to see, first and foremost, the open rate. Underneath the open rate, you'll see that negative red number. What's going on here is that the red and green numbers are comparing this particular email's performance across these metrics with all of the emails that have been sent through Soapbox Mailer for this instance. So just in a glance, you're able to see not just how this particular email is doing, but how that compares with the benchmark of all of your email performance. So in this particular case, we're doing pretty well in general with a 21.39% open rate, but it's actually pretty far off the standard open rate that we've got for email messages here. We can see the number of individuals who received the email, who opened it, as well as how many times all of those folks opened it. Same thing with click rate. We've got the percentage for this particular campaign, the difference between it and our benchmark, the number of unique individuals who received and opened the email and then subsequently clicked on it, and the total times those people clicked. We've got bounce rate and number of bounces. We've got the number of folks who've chosen to unsubscribe. And then if hopefully not, but if there's somebody who registered a complaint saying, hey, this is spam, those would be noted here. So those are the email campaign performance stats in aggregate. In a moment, we're going to dive down a little deeper, more specifically, and see how that plays out on an individual by individual basis. Now this next area here, amplification. For this particular example, we've turned off the ability to share over Facebook or Twitter. If that had been enabled though, and individuals had shared the web version of this email with their Facebook followers, with their Twitter followers, once folks started clicking through on those links to view the web version of the email, these stats would change. So we'd see the total number of times that the email was opened by clicking a link on Facebook or by clicking a link on Twitter. And then what that does is translate those opens, compares that against the number of folks who opened your email, who received it originally, and then gives you what we call an AMP or amplification score. It's a way of you being able to see just how wide the reach is of your email communications and have a metric, a number that you can compare, again, from campaign to campaign. This is going to be really useful if you want to see which social media channel you're getting the most traction on. It may be that if you share an email and you see a lot of folks coming to it through the Facebook channel because your recipients are sharing it there and getting a lot of traction there, then that might offer the insight that, hey, well, maybe we need to spend some more time in sharing stuff over social media on Facebook because we have a lot more chance for things to go viral there. It's a window into another metric that you can take action on to better inform your business processes. Now, moving down, we see what, for those who are familiar with Salesforce, will appear to be very familiar. We've got the campaign member management. So here we've got the list of campaign members. From here, we can do what we would normally expect from, again, the native Salesforce campaign member management tools. We can add members through search, we can import a file, we can edit current members. And within here, we can also drill down to the performance of the or the action of individual members. So in this example, this is actually me and what I did when I received this email. So here we have the campaign itself. We've got the contact that's associated with it. Just like with any standard campaign in Salesforce, Soapbox Mailer allows you to add either or both contacts and leads. So here we're able to see that this is a contact record. We can see the email address, and then we get more interesting here, provided I can mouse out of the pop-up. So we're able to see a number of data points. The sent date, the date that this recipient first opened the email, the last time they opened it, status that comes back from Amazon, the specific message code, whether or not the person opened or clicked, whether or not it bounced or they unsubscribed or issued a complaint, number of times they opened it, and then if this was shared on Facebook or Twitter and someone clicked on those links, how many times those links got clicked. Further down, we're able to see bounce information, if it bounced, and then the specific response code from Amazon, just in case you need to drill down and see what's going on. The last bit here is the list of links that this individual actually clicked, what day they clicked them, and what time they clicked them. In this example, we've just got the one, but it creates the list as they click through. I think because this is a test, it shows just the one rather than the, oh, sorry, I'm turning myself around. So yeah, there's one click through, and that's been noted here. So between the two, you've got the ability to see the aggregate performance metrics for this email. You've got the ability to compare that performance for this email across all the emails that you've sent. And then if you wish, you can drill down and see those individual campaign members and how they chose to react to this email. Further down, we've got the email links that we've created as trackable. That helps inform those statistics about who's clicked, what links they clicked, how many times they clicked them. Now, a lot of folks are curious about, okay, this is all great. You've got the metrics here. How do I actually add content? If we click on Edit HTML Body, we see the WYSIWYG editor here that we can drop in content. We've got the ability to add in both the trackable links for the purposes of the metrics, as well as merge fields. Now, the merge fields can be either from the contact record or the lead record, or both. And we do have the ability now, with a recent addition to the Soapbox Mailer product, to include any field at all on either object if you wish to include that data in your email. So it's well beyond just first name, last name, and the basics. You've got a lot of flexibility depending on what your Salesforce instance has in terms of field data on those two objects to include that data within the email. So I promised that what we were going to do was go through the overview of the different Soapbox Mailer views, as well as touch on some of the specifics of how the true to the core philosophy that we've got, this focus on making sure that we're using the standard campaign object, the standard tools and functionality within Salesforce, how that helped Blue Water Baltimore specifically leverage some pretty cool stuff to tackle some use cases that they wouldn't have been able to otherwise had it not been for Mailer and this approach. So if we go back to our slideshow here, what Blue Water Baltimore needed to do is, as an environmentally focused organization that's concerned about watersheds, concerned about all of the different tributaries that lead into Chesapeake Bay by Baltimore, they wanted to be able to leverage the data in their Salesforce instance to really target people based on where they lived and not have that be in commonly accessible address fields. It wasn't just zip code or city or state. They needed to know within certain locations how many people were in this area, how many people were close to this watershed. So what they're able to do is actually use Soapbox Mailer in tandem with another app that they got off the App Exchange that's called GeoPoint. GeoPoint is a fantastic app that, much like Soapbox Mailer, has a true to the core philosophy, so that given that, the two can work really well together. And this is how Blue Water Baltimore ended up leveraging those tools. So they're within the GeoPoint app able to use mapping functions to be able to do two things that were mightily helpful to them. The first is to be able to identify a particular point. Generally, this is going to be a meeting location that is some sort of community engagement meeting where people are coming together to raise an issue that's relevant to the local watershed. And what they wanted to do was make sure that folks within their Salesforce instance who were within a given radius of that meeting point would hear about that meeting and be able to attend. So what they can do through GeoPoint is add a point, define the radius, and then that tool identifies all the individuals in their Salesforce instance that fall into that radius. And then through just one click, they're able to add that group to a campaign in Salesforce. that campaign happens to be a Soapbox Mailer campaign. So that from just one click after they've created that radius search, they're able to pull those individuals in to a Soapbox Mailer campaign, send them out an email to notify them, hey, there's this meeting coming up on Friday, you should come and have your voice heard. A bit more complicated example that they had. They've got 3 specific watersheds that they are looking to protect. Now, there isn't going to be any easy way to drill down into what those watersheds look like in terms of, again, like a zip code or a state or a city on a standard address. But what they were able to do with the GeoPoint tool is create a custom shape just by drawing it within the GeoPoint app, save that shape as the shape that identifies this is a given watershed that we're concerned about. And then just as we see here, they're able to have the contacts and leads in Salesforce that match that shape, that fall into that shape, identified, and then again with the click of a button, add those to a campaign that's a Soapbox Mailer campaign and send out an email to those individuals to, again, either inform them of an upcoming activity or to be able to send out a particular donor appeal about the given watershed that they're interested in, or a specific program that they're starting that pertains to that watershed. It's, again, a way to leverage the true to the core philosophy of Soapbox Mailer so that it can play well not just with the standard Salesforce setup, but with other apps that can come alongside to produce results that, in the words of the folks over at Blue Water Baltimore, they just couldn't do through any other means. That's the rundown of the specific use case. What I want to do is just share briefly 3 final little tips that we've seen are useful when it comes to mass email, then open it up for questions and answers so that you all can make sure you get what you're looking for from this presentation today. First one, when you're sending an email, whether it's through Soapbox Mailer or any mass email tool, is be concise. Oftentimes, an email that's just 2 paragraphs is going to be far, far better than an email that's 3 times that long. So be as concise as you can. Use a single call to action. I think this is really difficult for folks. If you've got a number of things going on in your organization, you've got a lot that you want to say, it's best to make sure that in those individual emails, you can really focus on one thing that you want somebody to click, one thing that you want them to do. That's going to be great both in terms of increasing the overall campaign performance, because more people are going to be apt to click on that link and take that action. It's also going to make it easier to understand the data that's coming in for the metrics of a campaign, because it'll be just more clear that, okay, these are the number of people that open this email, this is the traction that we got on this particular ask. The last thing that works really directly with that is really take the time to evaluate the performance of your email campaigns. A lot of times I think email marketing falls into the category of, hey, we just need to do it, let's get it out there. It's best to write it and send it, and then just kind of keep your head down and move on to the next thing. As much as you're able to choose a tool that gives you the ability to really evaluate performance metrics and drill down into those numbers to see who's opening the emails, what they're doing, what kind of emails are getting the most traction. If those emails are being shared through social media, if so, is there a specific reason or theme that causes them to be shared? that kind of evaluation is going to give you a big rate of return as you move forward so that you can email smarter and better, and really allow you to get more impact for the work that you're doing. That's what I've got as prepared content. I am ready and willing to hear questions from folks, either about Soapbox Mailer specifically, about Soapbox Engage, or about mass email strategies in general.
Thanks, Tim. We have some great questions, actually. So I'm going to try to organize these into categories. There were a few questions, and people use different terms to describe this concept. I've heard it called profile management, list management. It's sort of the functionality that allows subscribers to unsubscribe from different lists within, their receipt of email from an organization. And there were a couple of questions about that. So specifically, about segmentation. Can subscribers do that action? Can they opt in or out of different lists?
Yeah, so what we've got is within Mailer, you do have the ability to unsubscribe from an email that is received. And what Soapbox Mailer's approach is, there's kind of a split within the community, particularly in the Salesforce community, as to what should happen when somebody unsubscribes. Some tools take that as, I don't want to hear from you ever again, ever, and will automatically check the email opt-out checkbox on the contact if they've got that level of integration with Salesforce. We don't think that that's the best thing to do, because just because there might be a particular email newsletter that your organization is sending doesn't necessarily mean that they never want to hear from you again. So what Soapbox Mailer does is it notes on the campaign member record that this person has elected to unsubscribe from this particular email channel, allows then the administrator of that Salesforce instance, or the person managing the email communication, to take action on what that means, to either unsubscribe them from a given list that email was a part of, or another option is to build a report that captures that data and then make sure that those people are filtered out of subsequent emails of that email newsletter channel. So that's the current approach that we take. We're also looking at expanding options to allow for more aggressive or robust list management, so that some of the unsubscribing to a given list can happen more dynamically or automatically, based on somebody's clicking the unsubscribe option.
Got it. Okay, thanks, Tim. So it sounds like there isn't necessarily something built into Mailer at the moment that, say, does something like when you click the unsubscribe link, redirects you to a page that lets you uncheck different campaigns you might be subscribed to in the system. But maybe that's on the roadmap. Did I understand that correctly?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So what happens right now is somebody clicks unsubscribe, they get a confirmation message, and then that unsubscribe is noted on the campaign member, and you're exactly right. We're looking to make to add some more functionality so that folks are able to customize more specifically once they click manage your subscription, to do something like go to a view and check different boxes for opt-in and opt-out.
Great. Okay, that's helpful. And then there was a question about opt-in forms. I think that pertains to that, but in case it means it's talking about how people sign up for lists, do you guys usually encourage folks to use web-to-lead or other custom forms?
Actually, what we encourage folks to do is use our Soapbox Engage suite, which includes a form builder that allows for the creation of all sorts of forms, including an email opt-in if you want to have an email subscription option. But a web-to-lead option or any of the other form builders out there could serve a similar purpose.
Yeah, a more complex form I think makes a lot of sense there. If you want to provide the ability for folks to sign up to specific lists from the get-go, clients I've had who've done that have experienced a lot fewer bounces and unsubscribes in the long run by giving more, like if you're an environmental organization, you might say, here's our list about watersheds, here's our list about, land trusts or different things. And then they're kind of getting what they want from the start. So I think a more complex sign up is an interesting approach.
Yeah, I think one other thing along with that is one thing to keep in mind is that you as an organization, if you're creating a form that's going to capture that information, you'd also want to look to see if it's possible to capture the IP address of the individual that's signing up through the sign-up process. I know that's something that our Soapbox Engage tool does, but it's good to see if whatever tool you do happen to use for email signups allows for that capability, so you can save that data within Salesforce just for auditing purposes, to be able to say, yep, we didn't just grab this email address out of thin air and force this person on our list. This is evidence that somebody actually came, signed up. This is, in fact, the IP address that they used to do so.
Yeah. Awesome. So just to kind of round out the opt-out questions, is there a canned response page? If someone unsubscribes, do they get some kind of notification that that's been completed, or what does that process look like?
Yeah, that's exactly right. They'll be sent to a simple message that says that they've been unsubscribed.
Got it. Cool. So a couple other quick questions. Okay, this is a similar one. Contacts who maintain multiple email addresses, let's say they have personal and work at their contact in your database. Is it possible for them to opt out with one email address and keep the other active, or does the opt-out happen at the contact level?
That's a really great question. And what Soapbox Mailer does is it uses the preferred email address if you're using the nonprofit starter pack, or just the standard email address if you're using the vanilla enterprise edition. That's the email address that it interacts with. So there's not going to be an ability to sort of choose amongst the group there of work phone, other phone. It's just the primary one. So all of the both selection of the campaign members, the email that's sent to a given email address, the unsubscribe option, that's all predicated on that one email address field.
Got it. Great. Okay, so the two other great questions we have: is Mailer accessible to all, to any number or all designated users within a Salesforce instance, or is it restricted to one Salesforce user license?
It's another great question. The Soapbox Mailer app is an organizational license, so it's available basically to whomever an administrator would want to make it available to within their instance. A lot of folks choose to just make it universally accessible, but you could potentially opt for a different installation process. The upshot though is it's an organizational license and left up to you as the admin to decide who gets to play and send email and who doesn't.
Yeah, that's a good level of flexibility, I think. As ever, I would maybe caution organizations against giving unlimited access to their mass email solution to their entire staff. But I think that question, I wonder if I could guess who Bonnie's current email provider is based on that. No naming names, but that's a common challenge. So that's nice to know that it's flexible. And then so the last question we have here, yeah, Bonnie, that's what I figured. Thanks for that. The last question we have here is about the trial. Are there any restrictions with the 30-day trial version of Mailer?
There aren't any restrictions, so you're able to use that just like you would the full paid version. It's just time bound.
Great. And with that question, I did want to also note that just a best practice would be making sure that you try out any trial apps in a sandbox or a dev instance of Salesforce and not deploy new apps directly into production. So just keep that in mind, that's great. Awesome. So thanks so much, Tim. We definitely do, again, just to quickly on the trial instance, you know, Mailer and many other applications also will provide trials. You know, use them, try them out. I think it's the single best way to get to know an application and see if it will kind of work well for you and work within your business process. So everybody go get that trial today. I think that's the single best way to get to know a new app. And I would also say the links that Tim is showing here on the screen, PicNet does a really wonderful job of giving tons of application information about the products they offer. So do check those out. They have a really great page about cost and functionality breakdown. So should be able to get all your questions answered at those links there that Tim notes. Cool, Tim. Any other comments before we wrap things up?
No, I think I'm good. It's been a pleasure to be able to hop on and chat about mass email. Thanks for the invite, and thanks to those who decided to dedicate nearly an hour of their day to hang out. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. Thanks again, Tim. We really appreciate your time as well. Just a quick note about upcoming webinars before we sign off here. There's a couple of things coming up throughout April. You can check the upcoming webinars list at idealistconsulting.com/webinar to see what we have upcoming. We've got some peer-to-peer, a peer-to-peer webinar in early April. That's with Stay Classy. We have an event management with Click and Pledge overview in mid-April, and then a soliciting major donors with Wealth Engine webinar coming up at the end of April. So do go ahead and sign up for those. But in the meantime, thanks again, everyone, for joining. As always, feel free to reach out to us anytime with questions about anything you've seen today. And look for the email afterward of the slide deck and the recorded webinar of today's overview. So thanks again. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk to you soon.